Robert Plank Show, episode 248, Intuitive Art Academy, Certification Programs, Relaxation, Knowledge, and Intuition with Rachel Archelaus. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the program. And our guest today is Rachel Archelaus. Now, Rachel is the founder of the Intuitive Art Academy, where she teaches people how to have a two-way conversation with their intuition. She is an internationally known spiritual leader and business mentor to coaches, healers, and therapists. Her book, Intuitive Art, Have a Two-Way Conversation with Your Higher Self, will be out in April. So, Rachel, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
I'm excited that you're here. And so, I mean, what kind of has you interested lately, and what should people know about you and what you're doing?
Well, I've been in business for a long time now, and I've really found that the more I just trust my intuition or my instincts, the less I actually have to strategize and think about stuff. So I think I've just been taking my intuitive journey to the next level, and that's really been super exciting for me.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to kind of crack that open and talk about it. And so, when you're talking about intuition, I mean, do, what does that mean exactly? Because like I don't know, like when I think about some people who might think that they're following their intuition, I mean maybe some people might be following maybe like the wrong path for them, or a path that's not making money, or maybe even like procrastinating and maybe telling themselves that if they just wait around the solution will present themselves. So I mean, is there a difference between sort of listening to your intuition and just kind of wasting time?
I totally love that question because, yeah, there's a lot of that happening. But mostly, I think people get intuition mixed up with fear. Your intuition's never really going to tell you to not pursue your dreams. It might tell you to hold off on something, making a decision, and something better will come along. But for the most part, I really think that people know what to do, they know what step to take because of that little internal nudge, but then they get scared and so they just go into that procrastination mode. It's happened to me as well. I mean, I definitely know the feeling. And it's easy to get mixed up if you're not really paying attention to the subtleties. So your intuition is, I call it your first voice. And that means it's really the first answer you get, or that first instinct, the first nudge you get. And then almost immediately after, your head's going to pop up. And it might sound something like, oh, no, you can't do that. Or there might even be specific reasons why that first voice was wrong. And often, unless you're really paying attention, people will think that their mind is really their intuition when it's really not. So it really just takes a little bit of inner work, a little bit of quieting down and paying attention to really be able to discern intuition from your ego or your mind.
Okay, I mean that makes a lot of sense. And when you're explaining that, it makes me think back to. I mean, I think we've all kind of dealt with those sort of decisions where, like that, the very first, like within the first couple of seconds, that it was like our real thoughts or a real opinion or the thing we should do, like that gut feeling, and then the other stuff sort of crept in after. So, I mean, are there things that we can do to quiet down the other voices that come in after, or is that an ongoing process, or what kind of things can we do to sort of focus more on that first nudge and less on the other stuff?
Well, there's obviously meditation helps, and there are so many great apps these days to make meditation easier for people who, have an overcrowded mind and have tried regular meditation and it didn't work for them. So apps like Headspace, and I think there's one called Calm, they bring you through guided meditations that you can listen to. It makes it a lot easier. But there's also intuitive art, which is what I teach. And that's really a process of asking your intuition a question directly instead of just waiting around for it, and getting the answer outside of your head. So there you don't have to worry about the other voices or knowing, where your intuition is coming in, how what it feels like. So intuitive art is a great way to access your intuition without those other thoughts chiming in.
Okay, and so what is this intuitive art exactly? Because I noticed that sometimes, like you said, like if I know the right question to ask, it almost seems like that's like half the battle, and I'll kind of think about a certain thing for a couple of days, or I'll think of a question and I'll like go to bed and I'll sleep on it, and somehow the next morning I'll have that answered. And sometimes I'll like doodle a little bit, but these are all habits that like I don't do very often. And so, I mean, what is this intuitive art thing exactly?
Well, first, to really talk about what you're saying, you're making space for that answer to come. So when you ask yourself something before you go to sleep, you're making room for the answer to come in when you wake up. And when you're doodling, you're actually turning on that flow part of your brain. You're getting your thoughts out of the way, and it's kind of, creating space for that intuition to come in. So I just wanted to tell you that because that's really anything creative or anything like walking in nature, anything where you get to clear space in your head, you're allowing room for your intuition to come in. But intuitive art, it just does it in a more systematic way. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to have a lot of time. And it's just a simple three-step process. You know your question, like you said. You ask, just really connect with yourself, and you ask it in your head. And you have to have some crayons or colored pencils around and a piece of paper. And really, when you get the answer, it sounds a little weird, but your hand is going to do all the work for you, and it's going to scribble something on that piece of paper. You're going to have your eyes closed, so you're not even going to know what colors you're picking, what the drawing looks like. And then the third step is decoding, and you're going to open your eyes and look at your drawing and see what colors are there. And before you do the process, you have to do this one-time thing, which is to find out what your personal color meanings are. And in my free classes, I teach people that you only have to do it once in your whole lifetime. But that gives you access to what your subconscious color meanings are. It's also your intuitive color meanings. So say you ask a question about how you can make more money, and a lot of purple shows up, and for you, purple is like a spiritual connection. You'll know that when you deepen that part of your life, you'll have access to making more money. It doesn't always make sense in a logical, strategic point of view, but then again, the path to success or whatever outcome you're searching for, it's never just a straight line. So I find that it's helpful to just have it on paper. You can put it on your wall. You can remind yourself of your answer, and that's pretty much how it works.
Okay, so a couple of things about that. So one, did I hear you correctly in that? So you take this test one time, and then you can basically tell what certain colors mean, and these colors mean different things for different people. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, everyone has different color associations, and some of them are kind of, you can see themes in a lot of people, but it's definitely not 100%. So it's really interesting when people find their color meanings, and it's actually a little guided meditation. So kind of like a test, but it's a little more gentler than that.
Okay, fair enough. And then, so once someone sort of does this guided meditation and they figure out what colors are for them, then they have their colored pencils or their crayons and their paper, and they sort of close their eyes and do their doodle. And so, I mean, how does that sort of work? Is it just like because the pencils were just in different colors, kind of scattered on the desk, your subconscious like somehow keeps track of them, or how does that work where your eyes are closed, but then somehow the right colors end up on the page?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head in one sense. So you can say that, we take in millions, probably trillions. I don't actually know the right number for this, but, pieces of data every single second. And so our subconscious mind will have a picture of where the colors are on our desk. But if you kind of think of the ancient art of tarot, if you're into that, or, oracle cards, there is somehow some reasoning why when we close our eyes, we can still have access to things that we can't see. So I don't exactly know the answer of why it works. All I know is that I've taught thousands of people, and really, really smart, really intellectual, really left brain people, as well as more creatives who may be more open to this kind of thing naturally. And everyone has had a really good experience and has gotten a lot of clarity even on their first try. So again, I really don't know all the reasoning of why it works. It just keeps amazing me, and so people keep using it.
Awesome. So it's sort of spooky, but why mess with it? And
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So yeah. And if people are listening, they might be thinking, well, like, why are we going so off topic? Well, it's sort of this is the way that this sort of sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong. So it sounds like, I mean, this is great for, if we feel like we need like a new way of thinking, or we need to solve some kind of problem, or we're backed our way into a corner, and maybe if we like spent having like been blocked sitting at the computer, or if we just can't crack that nut, it sounds like this is a good way to make any of these sort of like business decisions and things like that.
Yeah, and more and more over the years, I've been using it as the first go-to of how to run my business. Every year I do a drawings on, what strategy to take and what's the best tone to take in my content, and, what content should be in my free classes and all sorts of things. So instead of toiling away in my mind, which really it can only make decisions on what it knows already, I just go to my intuition and just, take a bunch of shortcuts, and it's really been working out great.
Awesome. And it sounds like it's been working out so great that not only have you been teaching it, but you also created a way to certify others in this intuitive artist kind of program. So can you talk to us about how that happened and what that is exactly?
Yeah, so since I have my own method of teaching this, and I don't know anyone else who has my specific system or outcomes, I really kind of claimed it as my own. And I decided that it would be much more fun if not just I was teaching this, but if I could have other teachers in my method. And so I got help to certify my program and really make all of the teaching and the content something that could be really useful for people. And we have certified intuitive artists in 8 countries now, and they are, teaching this all over the world, and they're using it in their own profession. So we have a lot of therapists and like life coaches and health coaches and healers who use this in their own work and help their clients with it, and not just teach.
Awesome. So they can help their own clients with it. And so I mean, what exactly? I mean, what kind of a package or what kind of a training do these people get? Like, so if they say, okay, well, I want to become a an Intuitive Art Academy certified person, and I mean, and correct me and let me know like what the exact program is called, but they want to become this sort of certified person. Like, what do they get exactly in that package?
So they get a 5-month program, and they learn the method, of course. They learn how to teach it. They learn how to have a private practice with it and how to help people with it and all the different ways that people can benefit from this. So they kind of learn how to be a coach and how to be a teacher, and they get to master this method. And they also learn how to market themselves. So I know there's a lot of like, helpful certifications out there, but they don't really teach you how to be profitable with it. So I definitely go into that because I really love business. And then they get ongoing training, mindset work and troubleshooting with their businesses and how to deepen this connection with themselves. And so it's really been the most fun thing I've ever done in my business, and it's fabulous to see it grow. We're also certified or accredited actually by the International Coach Federation, which is nice because I think because this is a little out there, it's helpful to have such an established institution give us the go ahead and give us that accreditation for their coaches to take continuing credit hours with us.
Awesome. And so, I mean, how did you come up with all this? Like, was did you model this after some other coaching program, or was this the kind of thing where like you did it out of trial and error? Like, how did this certification program come about for you?
I'd always wanted one. I always kind of saw this as my end game. So even, 14 years ago, I really wanted this to happen, but I definitely didn't know how to create it. It's because it's such a big thing. So I had a beta program going already, and that was going well, but I knew it wasn't enough. It wasn't fleshed out. It wasn't 5 months long. And so I hooked up with someone named Sheila Paxton, and she helps people get their certification programs going as her profession. So she helped me kind of understand how to build a curriculum and how to test people and have homework and do all those. I guess curriculum design is what you'd call it. So she really helped me with that, and then I took it from there.
Awesome. So it's like there's more than one way to make money. Like you're making money teaching this method and certifying it, and the Sheila Paxton person, she makes money by helping others take their knowledge and sort of packaging it in the certification. So it's kind of refreshing and kind of like expands the mind a little bit to make me think that okay, like I don't have to just do it straightforward. I can make money in all these different ways. And then so as far as this accreditation, I'm kind of looking around your website, and it says that so like the International Coach Federation allows you to grant 38.5 hours of education units. And so I mean, what does that get you exactly? Like, does that get you on the curriculum in like certain like colleges and things like that?
Not necessarily yet, though we could go that route if we wanted to do um, continuing education or higher education through the whole country. But that's a different thing. This is really just for ICF coaches, if because they have to have a certain number of continuing education credits every year to keep their status. And so we're just one of those bodies that can help them get that done.
Okay, so you're plugged in their organization, and so sort of along those lines. I mean, do you have any plans for anything else exciting along these lines, like more of like getting the word out or getting sort of plugged into anyone else's program or things like that?
Yeah, well, I'm releasing a book this year, just in a couple months, and our strategy for the book launch isn't really book sales, it's to get the word out about what we do and what the program is about. And I'm doing a book tour. And so our overall goal is to get it into the hands of as many people as possible. And that way people will just naturally find the program and will be able to grow. So our it's been interesting having this book come out and having to pick a strategy, and it's been really fun. And I'm actually going to get to hold my review copy on Monday for the first time, so I'm super excited.
Awesome! It sounds exciting. And do you know, or are you ready to tell us like the name of the book or where people will be able to find it once it's ready?
Yeah, so we're doing this the big way. The book's called Intuitive Art: How to Have a Two-Way Conversation with Your Higher Self, and it will be available through wholesalers and libraries and bookstores and Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the whole gamut. So um, it's exciting. It's been a big learning curve for sure, but totally worth it.
Awesome. Plugged into all the different marketplaces there. So cool. So you have this intuitive art thing, and then you taught it, and you have the certification program and the book, and all these things happening. And so, as we're starting to wind down, I want to make sure that we cover the lifestyle business part of it. Like, how do you make money and stay productive and stay focused and do all these things, but also kind of have a life. So do you have any sort of like quick tips, or do you have any like number one kind of go-to advice for someone who's trying to have that lifestyle sort of business?
Yeah, two quick tips is automate as much as you can. In the beginning of the certification, I taught it live. So every week I'd show up and I would teach the class to that particular group of students. And then after I did it a few times, I just used some edited versions of the classes, and now I drip out my content for my new students. So it's totally evergreen. And I have one of my coaches, one of my certified intuitive artists, doing the live parts. So she's doing the practice hours with them. That means I don't have to really be there for any of it, except grading homework, which I can do anywhere. The other thing is, if you don't already have one, get yourself a part-time assistant to handle customer service or whatever else needs to be done daily. And that way you can unplug and go and travel. I traveled 3 months out of last year and mostly unplugged for when I was away. Didn't even bring my laptop. So doing that automating and relying more on my assistant for the day-to-day stuff has been really, really wonderful.
Awesome. So along those both of those lines, like as far as the automation stuff, I mean, how do you how do you figure out the right tools to automate it? Like there's tons of membership platforms and tons of webinar platforms and all these different things. So how did you crack that part of it? How did you figure out what tools and what platforms to use to get that automation out of the way?
Yeah, well, I went through a lot of trial and error. My old standard was WordPress and Optimize Press together to make my marketing pages and my membership sites. But for me, WordPress has gotten a little unstable, and so I switched to Simplero in March of last year. They do all of that. They do automation, um, membership sites. They host your media, so you don't have to have Vimeo or YouTube or anything. And I found that they've been, exceeding my expectations. So Simplero, super stable, and they just keep getting better and better.
Okay, so it sounds like initially you just kind of use whatever what tools were in front of you, and then when you felt like, I guess there was enough pain there where it was a little unstable, and you said, "All right, now I'm just going to switch to something that is simpler for me."
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the biggest things about Simplero is that the payment processing and what your students have signed up for is in the same thing. So maybe if somebody misses a payment, you don't have to go hunting. They'll send reminders and they'll also revoke access to the site. And I know that's kind of like we don't ever want to think about that happening in our businesses, but when when you don't have something so automated set up, it's a lot more man hours. So your assistant's got to send more emails and do a lot more. So they really have thought of everything, and I'm just so pleased with that.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, it sounds like it's all kind of hooked together if they deal with the payments and they drip it out and they even host a video, all kinds of stuff. And then for that assistant that you mentioned, I mean, was there any kind of like growing pains or a learning curve there, just as far as like trusting that person with so much or making sure they did it right, or like, do you have any secrets with that as far as offloading most, if not all, of your business to some kind of an assistant?
Well, I had an advantage. I've had this assistant for 2.5 years. And so when it came time for me to really not be present, and not even really be available to answer questions for at least a week or two, I already had the trust there. So I would just, really go on your gut, go into your intuition, see if you feel okay with the person if they're new, and don't give them passwords to really sensitive things. Don't give them a credit card per se, or don't give them bank access. Just use your head and use your gut and make sure that you feel comfortable and don't trust more than you need to.
Makes a lot of sense. Like try them out first, and then kind of over time as they earn it, give them more and more of that access. And so great stuff. And sort of as we're winding things down today, Rachel, like, are you seeing just as far as the people that you teach this method to, or the people you sell certification to, or just anyone you come across? Do you see it like a universal mistake everyone's making out there, or maybe is there something that you wish you could tell your past self to maybe save yourself a lot of progress? Like, are you seeing something like that in your travels?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that people don't give themselves enough credit. I think we try to overanalyze and refer to teachers and, like thought leaders a little bit too much. I think we all have more capability than we know. And so the biggest thing that's helped me is to just relax and use my own knowledge, use my own intuition. And that has actually turned out better than what I'd come up with sitting and thinking for hours. So relax.
Awesome. Relax and don't try to force it. And yeah, I love that advice. Give yourself enough credit because it just reminds me of it seems like I always kind of see these motivational quotes that say something along the lines of like, well, those of us with knowledge don't have confidence, and then all the idiots out there have all the confidence, and then we don't kind of assert ourselves the way that we should. So I mean, really good advice, and I think that's something that we all need to hear. And so I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you, and knows everything there is to know about Rachel. So can you tell us about your websites and just places that you want everyone here listening to go to right now?
Sure. So if you want to learn intuitive art and take our free class, you can go to intuitiveartacademy.com and take that. And if you want to just learn more about me and intuitive art, you can go to rachelarchelaus.com. That's got all my blogs and videos and stuff on there.
Awesome. So intuitiveartacademy.com and rachelarchelaus.com. So, I mean, we switched gears a couple of times and covered all kinds of cool subjects from, creativity to this process that you have of tapping into your intuition and how you came up with this certification program. Lots of good little nuggets there. And then to kind of put it all in a nice package, how to do that lifestyle business and make sure that you automate and use those tools that are simple, and then hire that part-time assistant. That way you don't have to do everything else. That way you can take the time off to further tap into that intuition and have that relaxation and that clarity and make the decisions that you have to make. And so I want to thank you so much, Rachel, from intuitiveartacademy.com, for stopping by the show and sharing us all your unique insights today.
Thank you so much. This was really, really fun.
This is Robert Plank. And would you like to be a guest on the program? Do you have an idea for a future episode? Or do you just want to tell us how we're doing? Get in touch with us right now at robertplank.com/ask to let us know.